I look at a question, whom do you credit for where you are? I think of the idea of it takes a village, or the much older idea expressed by the English poet, no man is an island entire of itself. We don't come into life without being birthed by our mother. All of our lives are spent in the company of others. Um, we are in life in a we program. But very specifically, whom I credit for where you are the women I think of as the mothers, my mothers of choice and my mothers of adoption. And they start with my beloved friend, Sherry, my closest and dearest friend of more than 40 years, my North Star, the one who hung in there with me through thick and thin and back again. We had a lot of adventures, and we had adventures together on two continents. I think of Tian, a gifted psychodramatist and mentor. Her encouragement of deep healing has been transformational for me. I allowed myself to be emotionally and psychologically naked to her for the purposes of my healing. And she was my mother. She is my mother in healing. I think of Shirley, unwavering in her commitment to the principles of recovery. Shirley's voice is a tape that runs in my head all day, every day, and I'm so deeply grateful for it. Shirley never lets herself get bogged down in the weeds of any story or in the weeds of any ethical dilemma. Shirley always brings the conversation back to the principles of recovery. And she trained me up well. That level of dispassionately remembering what's at stake here, what's important here, what the principles are that I need to be paying attention to at any given moment. And it's very effective, sort of when we all fall into those moments where we're spiraling off into the story. Oh my goodness. Shirley always brings me back to the principles. Deeply grateful for that. There's Barbara, the sister I never had. We look alike, and we were identified, anytime we're out together, we're identified as sisters, but we're always rumbled the minute we open our mouths. She's American, I'm Irish, she speaks American, I speak a language called Hiberno English. But her voice reminds me on a daily basis, particularly when I'm grappling with stuff that, sort of that I'm not very good at or any good at or downright dreadful at. And I'm looking for, that softer, easier way, that shortcut that doesn't exist. I hear Barbara's voice reminding me to let's not do this the drunk's way. She pulls me back from the brink. That voice of hers pulls me back from the brink. And she has a beautiful singing voice as well, wonderful soprano, bring tears to your eyes. I've mentioned Mary, my first adult friend, who taught me about integrity, a core guiding principle for me. And of course, always and forever, my mother, my birth mother. My birth mother told me everything she didn't think she was teaching me and nothing about any of the feminine arts. She taught me unwittingly so much about feminism, so much about the reality of being a woman, a creative woman, living in the patriarchy, in the incredibly repressive and regressive Ireland of the mid 20th century, which pretty much suffocated her. Even split between my parents. From my father, I get my intellectual inquiry, and from my mother, I get my creativity and my interest in the arts. And sometime over the current fall winter, I'm going to be saluting her, or saluting her memory, I should say, by visiting the Christian Dior fashion retrospective at the Brooklyn Art Museum. My mother adored the Dior new look from 1947, and I'm really interested in catching up with it so close and personal. Neither my father nor my mother would have approved of where I'm at today, particularly. They certainly didn't approve of my public life in Ireland. But I see myself in them, I see them in me. And I'm grateful for the gift of my life and for the freedom to make of it what I have. So there's some of the mothers in my life, the sources of nurture and wisdom and connection, and I'm grateful to all of them for my life today.